Hi there, it's Elise Kopp, your realtor here in Las Vegas. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me here on my channel. If you're new, welcome. If you've been here, welcome back. Either way, I'm happy you're here. Now, for today's video, I wanted to take some time to share with you absolutely everything you need to know before you buy a new home here in the greater Vegas area. Now, just a little bit of background on myself. My name is Elise Kopp. I'm a realtor here in the greater Vegas area. Born and raised in Las Vegas, so I've gotten to see this city grow over the years. I love being here and help my clients from different parts of the country decide if Las Vegas is the place they want to call home. So if you do see yourself potentially considering a move, I would love to be your one-stop shop. I'll leave my phone number here on the screen. Would love to connect with you, learn a little bit about your story and where you're coming from to see if Las Vegas is for you and if we're a good fit. Also, if you did enjoy today's video, would really appreciate it if you could leave a thumbs up on today's video and subscribe to my channel. It really does help the channel out and your support means the world to me. So, let's talk a little bit about what you need to know before buying a new build home. Anytime you are purchasing a home, there is a process involved, and new homes have their own processes in place, a little bit different than the resale market, so there are definitely certain nuances you may want to know, whether you have purchased a new build home or if this is your very first home. Now, the very first thing you're probably going to want to give some thought to if you are starting the process and exploring a new build home purchase is your time frame. And the reason I bring that up is because when it comes to time frame, you're going to be dealing with two different sets of builders when it comes to building options. You're going to have your traditional home builders who are going to allow you to select a lot in the community, build from the ground up. You're going to get all the customization that comes with building a brand new home. But if you were to find a home, let's call it tomorrow, you would be about 6 to 8 months out before you could actually move into your home. Now, when you are dealing with traditional builders, depending on which community you're looking at and the demand in the community, it's possible there may be a waiting list. It's possible that the builder's doing a drawing system before actually getting you into a home site or a lot in the community. So if time frame is important to you, that is definitely one of those factors you'll want to consider, because on the other side of the spectrum, you have what's called spec home builders. And we are starting to see a rise in spec home builders here in the Las Vegas Valley. And that is because spec home builders are essentially allowing you a quicker move-in option when it comes to new construction. Spec homes could be anywhere from the permit stage to the completion stage. And these are typically the homes that the builders are most eager to sell. They allow you to move in quicker, but you're not going to get the customization that you'd get with a brand new build home. With a spec home, in most instances, your structural options, your design options, so your cabinets, your countertops, so on and so forth, have already been pre-selected. So if you find the customization that comes with new construction overwhelming, spec home could be a really good option, especially if you're looking for something to move into quicker. The other thing to keep in mind when you're comparing a traditional home builder to a spec home builder and time frame are going to be the incentives. Now, typically, the further along a new build home is to completion, or if it's already at the completion stage, those are the homes that the builder is most eager to sell, meaning you are going to get the best incentives, whether that is in the form of an interest rate buy down or closing costs or a reduction on the purchase price. Just keep in mind that when it comes to spec homes, we can almost always come in with our own offer. So what the builder is advertising, the number that they are offering to sell the home for when it comes to a spec home, we do not necessarily need to pay. And that is where representation and an agent like myself or any other that you know would be very important, because when you are dealing with the builder sales reps, as awesome as they are, at the end of the day, they work for the builder. When you sign on that dotted line for the contract, those agents represent the builder. When you have an outside agent, a buyer's agent representing you, we are able to go to bat for you, negotiate on your behalf, whether it is in the form of an interest rate buy down, closing costs, or a reduction on the purchase price. And we are also able to keep the accountability beginning to end. When we're talking about having buyer agent representation when it comes to new construction, there is a common misconception that I want to touch on. Now, most builders here in the greater Vegas area, almost all of them are offering what's called buyer agent compensation, meaning when you have a buyer's agent representing you, it does not cost you a penny. It is zero fee representation, and you get the representation and accountability beginning to end, you have someone who's going to go to bat for you. And then something else to note, Nevada law actually prohibits builders from offering better incentives to buyers, whether or not they have a buyer's agent. So no cost to you, just something I wanted to share. If you are considering new construction and are trying to consider which areas might be best for you, which communities might be best for you, I'll leave my phone number here on the screen. Would love to go to bat for you if you decide that is the direction you'd like to go. So kind of going back a little bit, got a bit sidetracked. When we're talking about incentives, as I mentioned, further along the home is, the better incentives you typically get working with the builder. Now, if you are building from the ground up, a lot of builders today, at least spring of 2025, are still offering incentives, whether it's in the form of closing costs or interest rate buydowns. So there are still plenty of options, incentives-wise, going both directions with a spec home or a brand new build home. Typically though, you are going to get the best incentives when you do a spec or quick move-in home. Something else to keep in mind when it comes to incentives is going to be the fact that incentives might be slightly different whether you're getting financing or going cash. I will tell you both options usually offer some sort of incentives. Builders are usually inclined to want you to work with their preferred lender. So you may find you get even better incentives working with the builder's preferred lender if you do decide to go the loan route. That is why builders here in the greater Las Vegas area actually made up over a third of the business last year, which is very, very high. And that reason is because the builders have the leverage right now to offer the incentives. So that's definitely something you may want to consider, especially if you are still on the fence and are comparing resale to new build options. So definitely something to keep in mind. So now let's say you've already figured out the community you want to be in, you've already figured out the home you want to be in. Typically the next step when finding a new build home is going to be lot availability. If it's a spec home, usually the builder already has a list of the homes that are readily available, and you can just have your pick of the litter if there's availability, and you go from there. If it's a brand new build home, every builder operates a little bit differently when it comes to releasing lots. As I shared a little bit earlier, some are doing lottery style, some are first come, first serve. Some builders are actually able to release unreleased lots early with management approval. So every builder's process is a little bit different and it can change. So there's no set way to necessarily do it. That is where someone like I would come in and would be able to guide you on that side of things. But when it comes to lot availability, one of the big things you may want to do when exploring new construction is actually drive around. I highly encourage my clients to actually take a good old drive around the community, having boots to the ground and actually seeing what the views are like. The actual elevation of each of the home sites in the community is big when you're exploring a new build home. So that is definitely something you will do in the process. Now, when it comes to lot availability, just keep in mind that depending on the community you're looking at and where the community is situated, if there are mountain views or lake views or city views, there are instances where builders will charge lot premiums. They're actually very common here in Nevada, and typically those are premiums that are charged for home sites that are high in demand. So if there is some sort of view and there are potentially multiple parties interested in a lot, those are going to be the home sites where the builder may charge a lot premium. Now, another thing to keep in mind when it comes to premiums in building a home, especially if you are comparing spec homes to building from the ground up, is going to be pricing. More instances than not, you guys, you're going to find that your traditional home builders who are building from the ground up, they are going to advertise a price which is called a base price. On the billboards, it's going to say starting at so-and-so dollar amount, let's call it $450,000. That is not necessarily your number out the door. When you're working with a traditional home builder or you're building a home from the ground up, that number that you see advertised is what's called a base price. Now, your base price typically does not include any of your design options, cabinets, countertops, flooring, light fixtures, so on and so forth. It also doesn't include your structural options. So as you are walking through model homes and you see all the bells and whistles, just keep in mind that is the builder putting their best foot forward. That is what they use to dazzle you. If you are building from the ground up, you can typically count on upgrades being anywhere from 10 to 20% of the base price. So anytime you're doing the math and trying to figure out the pricing for a home, that is definitely something you'll want to keep in mind from building from the ground up. Now with spec homes, typically builders have already pre-selected all your cabinets, countertops, flooring. So the number you're typically seeing advertised is pretty close to your number out the door. Of course, we can always do further negotiation, but that is definitely something you'll want to keep in mind if you are comparing those two options. So now that we covered what it's like to work with a spec home builder or traditional home builder, what lot availability looks like, what pricing looks like, you're probably going to get to the fun part. You've already found the community you want to focus on. You've found the lot that you want to focus on. Now is going to come negotiation time. This is a stage where we get to do the fun stuff and potentially negotiate even further incentives, whether it's in the form of closing cost, interest rate buy downs. There are all sorts of different ways to get creative. I've even seen instances where we're able to throw in appliances or appliance credits for clients. So there are different ways we can navigate. So definitely a conversation we can have together to determine what is most important to you when it comes to incentives. But once incentives have been negotiated, we get to do the fun stuff and go to contract, work out sending whatever earnest money deposit the builder requires, and get to do the fun stuff, which is actually watch your home being built. If it's a spec home, watch those finishing touches go into place so that you could get the keys and move into your brand new home. Now, I hope that gives you just a really good general overview as to what you want to know before you go in to buy a brand new build home, whether it's a quick move-in home or a brand new build home built from the ground up. Now, I just want you to know we are just scratching the surface on a few key points, things you need to know when it comes to buying a brand new build home. There's of course more involved when it comes to building a new home. So I will leave my phone number here on the screen. I'd love to have a conversation with you, learn a little bit more about your story, walk you through the building process, if that is the direction you decide you'd like to go. We've got all sorts of new build options all over the greater Vegas Valley. So plenty of options available if and when you decide it makes sense for you. I want to take this time to thank you for watching today's video. I will see you in the next video, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.